Hey everybody, how's it going? Now, of course, you all know I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I mentioned on the air a few weeks back that I have a pretty extensive Star Wars card collection. A few of you had a lot of questions about it. I got some emails on it, so I figured since the 40th anniversary of Star Wars is this week, it would be a great time to show off my collection. So let's take a look. All right, so these very organized binders hold just a small part of my collection. And I'm going to start off by showing you some of the original vintage cards going back to 1977. All right, so these cards are what most people think of when they think of collectible Star Wars trading cards. This is the original set of 1977 Topps cards. They actually did 5 different series. The first series is the one that most people remember. It has this classic blue starfield behind it. And back in the day, these cards were actually very easy and inexpensive to collect. There was only about 66 cards in each of the different series, a handful of stickers, and you could find them pretty much anywhere in any grocery store or 5 and 10 store in town. So what's cool about these cards is on the back of some of them, they had puzzle pieces, and a lot of people probably remember putting these puzzles together. I started to put a couple of them together. I got kind of bored. All right, so here are some of the stickers from Series 1. And again, these were pretty easy to collect. The only problem is there's not a lot of them hanging around anymore because most people actually stuck them on things. I remember having Chewbacca on my lunchbox going to kindergarten. So I do have all 5 series from 1977. This red background is Series 2, and they came with their own stickers as well. And they were pretty similar to the Series 1 stickers, except they got a kind of more of a funkier star background. And there's a red border to kind of match up with the red border on the cards. All right, so Series 3 now has this yellow background. And by the time this series came out, mostly everyone had seen Star Wars at least once. So they revealed a lot more of the actual movie with some more shots from the film. And there was quite a gratuitous use of exclamation points, too, in some of these captions. I love these. This is Solo swings into action. You got Solo aims for trouble. The walls are moving. And I think the fact that a lot more scenes from the film were used in Series 3 gave Topps the idea to put this film border on the stickers that were included in the series. All right, so in Series 4, you get this green background, and it also is the series where we get the most controversial Star Wars card ever produced, and that would be the Dirty C3PO card, which you can see right here. And if you take a look, you can probably know why it is called that. Now, the official word from Topps is that they were taking a picture of C3PO, and just as the camera fired, a piece of C3PO's costume fell off, and it looks like something dirty. Now, the unofficial word, which is a lot more believable, is that the cast was kind of goofing around off camera, and they uh, placed a item on C3PO and were fooling around. Now, I guess the picture was taken. It made it to Topps. No one ever checked it, and by the time they realized what had happened, millions of these things were already printed out. Now, Topps did wind up editing the card, and this is a copy of that card. Now, as you can see, there was some airbrushing done there to remove the protruding piece of metal. Now, believe it or not, the mistake card is actually worth a lot less than this corrected card because by the time they figured it out, it was kind of late to recall anything. So there were so many of them out there that they printed these a little bit later on. So there's a lot fewer of the corrected card out there. So if you have one of those, it is worth a little bit more. And again, of course, Series 3 also comes with its own stickers with that film border on it as well, which are pretty cool. All right, so by the time we get to Series 5 here, Topps is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to photos. They've already reused a lot of them on the different series. So what they did was something that's pretty interesting and something that kind of set the tone for what they do with Star Wars cards today. They wound up using a lot of behind-the-scenes pictures, which are really cool to see. Like you get this picture of Chewbacca getting his makeup on. There's George Lucas directing the cantina scene. We also have, I believe this is Alec Guinness celebrating his birthday on set. And of course, there were stickers to go with the final series as well. I don't know who wants a sticker of some guy putting makeup on, on Chewbacca, but it was there. As I mentioned, back in the day, it was pretty easy to collect Star Wars cards because you just had about 66 in each series, and there wasn't really too much in the way of variations besides that dirty C3PO card. But really, like crazy collectors, they go nuts for this mark that's next to the copyright. If you see at the bottom of the card there's one star next to the copyright symbol. That means that this card was part of the first printing. There are also cards with 2 stars on it,
which show that the card is part of the second printing. Now, some people feel like they have to have a full collection of 1-star cards and 2-star cards. I'm not that crazy. All right, and I should note too that outside of Topps, there were a few other cards that were printed back in the day that some people think are super collectible, and they are. But these cards right here are from Wonder Bread. They used to put a different card in each bag of Wonder Bread, and these are in abundance. They look like they're pretty rare because not too many people remember them, but people did collect them. And you can find them on eBay for not all that much money, but they are kind of cool. I do remember collecting these as a kid. All right, so this brings us to The Empire Strikes Back. So Topps learned quite a bit after the 5 series of the original Star Wars cards were made. And one of the cool additions with The Empire Strikes Back is we get checklists. So 2 cards you found in packs contain the checklist information with cards 1 through 66 and 67 through 132. So there are a lot more cards now in each series. And actually, this was the beginning of what we call the insert sets. So besides the normal cards you would get, they also had a certain series of cards called Star File, where it gave information on each of the different characters that you'd see in the film. And there were also these really cool Ralph McQuarrie art paintings as well, where you could see just some of the artwork that was involved in creating the film. Now, stickers for Series 1 of The Empire Strikes Back were pretty neat. They had different letters on them. And again, these are not as common to see nowadays as the cards are, only because everyone wanted to unstick these and print out their name with Star Wars faces. Series 2 of The Empire Strikes Back has one of my favorite, mini-series of cards, and that would be the StarCraft series. I remember collecting these when I was a kid, and it was all the different StarCraft from The Empire Strikes Back. So you have the Imperial Star Destroyer, the Cloud Car from Bespin. You've got the Avenger, which is really cool, and of course, the TIE Fighter. You can tell the difference between Series 2 and Series 1 because Series 2 has the blue border around that silver background on the cards. And again, Series 2 has plenty of letters there. Even if your name has an X in it, you're covered. All right, so in Series 3 of The Empire Strikes Back from Topps, this is where things get kind of funky. Look at this really cool artwork of each of the characters here. You get a whole series of cards, pretty much covers everybody. And Boba Fett crouching down, which is pretty wild. And the background on these base cards are pretty neat too. Instead of that silver metallic background, you get this really cool yellow and green effect, which is neat. Again, a lot more scenes from the actual film in Series 3, which winds up being the final series in the Empire Strikes Back Topps collection. All right, so just like how they had those Star Wars cards that you could find in Wonder Bread bags, The Empire Strikes Back had a promotional deal with Burger King, where you could find these sets of cards in different meals. Now, these were usually cut up by people, but if you have the original ones that were uncut, that's pretty cool. And of course, I've got a whole series of them right here. And here's the back. Yes, there were 36 different ones, and of course, everybody wins. All right, so by the time The Return of the Jedi came out, people were kind of fatigued, I think, when it comes to having to collect all these cards and chase after all of them. So Topps only issued 2 series. And of course, it starts with all the publicity shots. And these are kind of boring, I think, the Return of the Jedi cards. I mean, of course, you do get some great shots from the film in here, but the red border and the yellow headline underneath, not quite as exciting as some of the earlier Star Wars cards. And the stickers that were included, again, not that much creativity put in there. I think they realized at this point they could print pretty much anything, and people would collect them. And Series 2, pretty much the same as Series 1. There are some fewer cards in this. And instead of the red background, you just get a blue one. The stickers, however, I will say, for Series 2 of Return of the Jedi did have some redeeming value. These are pretty cool, and this kind of harkens back to the earlier stickers. And you even get some of the ones with the film background.
All right, so listen, I could probably go on and on with all the cards that have been released since the original trilogy came out. There were cards for the prequel. There was a bunch of throwback sets. Now that The Force Awakens and Rogue One is out, there's tons of sets for each of those films. But we're closing in on like 10 minutes of talking about Star Wars cards. I'm surprised you're still watching. But if you do want to talk Star Wars cards, I always love talking about it. So follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We could talk more, and maybe if enough people are interested, I'll make another video with some of the newer cards. All right. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the collection.